Okay. Okay. Can everyone hear me, even those in the back? All right. Okay. If for whatever reason you cannot hear me, just raise your hand or let me know. I will try to speak louder. But again, thank you everyone for being here tonight. And thank you for those of you who have submitted some dietary myth when you register. I got many of them. They're all very interesting, and some of them I never know about. So I actually have to go look them up and learn the science behind it. So I actually learned something during this whole process. So thank you very much for that. But for tonight's talk, I'm going to cover 4 of the myths that many of you have asked about. And if I am unable to talk about the myths that are of interest to you, don't be upset. At the end, I will have some resources for you to go there and look for the answer for the myth and look up many other different dietary myths. So before I start, I want to emphasize that none of what we are going to talk about today will replace what your doctor tells you, or it should not replace any treatment or any medication that your doctor have given you. Because of liability issues, I am not able to prescribe any medication or any supplement or give any personal advice about your health or your medical conditions. I do want to say that if you have a specific question about your health or medical condition, make sure you talk to your doctors. They are your health buddies. They are always willing to help you and answer any question and address any concern. And they can always refer you to see a dietitian who is eligible to practice here in North Carolina. So I want to emphasize that. So let's go ahead and start it. So a lot of the dietary myths that you guys are wondering about can essentially be nailed down to just this statement here. Basically, what you need to do is come up with a food that you do not like. Put it in this blend here, and there you go, you have a dietary myth. Done. So what are some of the food items that you guys may have put it in? How about first one, the fat? It doesn't matter what fat is. It doesn't matter where the fat is. As long as it is fat, it has to be bad, period. But is that really the case? So does our body actually need fat? And what do they do in our body if we do need it? Okay. So fat gives us energy so that we can do different activity during the day. It also gives us a fat tissue in our body to help keep us warm. Fat is important because it protects some body organs, such as kidney. And as a nutritionist, I really like this one. Fat is a source for the fat-soluble vitamins, which include vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. And by eating the fat, you are actually helping your body to absorb all these fat-soluble vitamins. And last but not least, fat is important for producing and regulating hormones that are important to control our body metabolism and help us control our appetites. So for all these reasons, we do need some fat. But there are many different fats. I group them into 3 big categories. First one is the saturated fat. People like to call them the solid fat because they are solid at room temperature. And you can find the saturated fat in things that are originated from animals. Example would be beef, chicken, pork. You can find them in milk. You can also find them in butter and other tropical oils, for example, the coconut oil. Another type of fat is unsaturated fat. So this are the liquid fat because they're liquid at room temperature. So in unsaturated fat, you can further break it down into monounsaturated fat or polyunsaturated fat. And you may have here things like omega-3 or DHA. Those are polyunsaturated fat. You may have here things like omega-6 or arachidonic acid. Those are also polyunsaturated fat. And you can find them in things like canola oil, olive oils, or nuts and seeds, or even oily fish like salmon. And finally, The other type of fat that I want to introduce to you guys to is the trans fat. So these are created during a process called hydrogenation. What that is taking a liquid vegetable oil and change it from a liquid form into a solid form or a semi-solid form. And that is usually done by heating or some sort of chemical process. The reason for doing that, like food manufacturer like that, because it can increase the shelf life of the food item. And for that reason, they are usually found in food like processed food or food that are made with shortening or partially hydrogenated oils. So now comes the real question, are all the fat bad? Can they actually be part of our healthy diet? So let's see what the research say. So the research data actually say that saturated fat and trans fat can increase the LDL level in your blood. So the LDL, people like to call them the bad cholesterol, because if you have a higher level of this cholesterol in your blood, it can cause heart attack because it will trigger downstream processes that will block the blood flow. On the other hand, research data say that unsaturated fat, both monounsaturated fat and polyunsaturated fat, will keep the bad cholesterol level low and keep the good cholesterol, which is the HDL, high. And so for these reasons, the current dietary recommendation actually recommend that we should consume less than 10% of our calories from saturated fat and less than 1% of calories from trans fat. How we can do that? We can replace food that are high in saturated fat or trans fat with food that are high in monounsaturated or polyunsaturated fat. So instead of eating a lot of red meat, we can consider eating fish or nut and seed. And another thing I want to mention is don't try to replace that the meat with refined carbohydrates, so things like high sugar Coca-Cola. Don't do that, because if you eat too much of those, that will also cause other health issues. So the bottom line is that not all the fat are bad for you. There are some good fat, and your body do need those good fat, which are the monounsaturated fat and the polyunsaturated fat. So, any question about this? Or if you have questions, feel free to ask. If not, I'll go on to the next one. Okay, so what else did people put into that blend? How about eggs? This one is very popular in the media. And actually, I got 6 or 7 of myths from you guys about eggs. So just very quick show of hand. How many of you think that eggs are bad for you? Raise your hand if you think eggs are bad. Okay. Anyone else? How about eggs are good for you? Anyone think that? Oh, okay, good. Can I ask why you think eggs are bad for you?
I thought it increased your cholesterol.
Ah, there you go. Okay, I like that answer. Okay, so I was asking why some people will think that eggs are bad for you, and this person responded is that it will increase the cholesterol level in the blood. I will come back to that. Anyone? A lot of you guys raise hand for the bottom one. Anyone want to tell me why they think eggs are good, except these people in front? Or Dr. Smith, yes?
I read, and I won't be able to give you the term.
That's fine.
There's something in the yellow egg yolk that starts, I think it starts with an L, maybe?
Ah, yes.
And that supposedly what that sentence said, that it supplies the brain with something that no other food can.
Okay, so this person's response is that something in the egg yolk that starts with L that is good for your brain. I will come back to that. I also like that answer. Anyone want to tell me what else that they think eggs are good for them? All of you guys raise hands. The choline. Okay, anything else? Okay, so why people think eggs are bad? Just like that person say, eggs have a lot of cholesterol. if you're eating a lot of egg, you are essentially eating a lot of cholesterol. And then because you are eating a lot of cholesterol, your cholesterol level in the blood is going high, very high, and you will have a heart attack and you will die. That's what the myth is about. Is that really true? So it's not completely wrong. Eggs do have a lot of cholesterol. And almost all of them are found, actually most of them are found in egg yolks. So some people try to control the amount of cholesterol they take from the diet by getting rid of the egg yolk and just eat the egg white. That is not a good idea either, and I will come back to that point to explain why that is not a good idea. But yeah, a large egg will give you 185 milligrams of cholesterol, which is over 60% of your daily cholesterol requirement. So if you eat 2 eggs for breakfast, you are already over your daily requirement. But does that mean anything on your blood cholesterol level? So actually, research say that there is absolutely no relationship between the amount of cholesterol you eat from your food, such as egg, on the cholesterol level in your blood. There is absolutely no relationship. That is because the amount of cholesterol in your blood is largely made from the liver, and it's not coming from your food. So for a small percentage of people, because of the genetic differences, they may be more sensitive to dietary cholesterol level. And for those people, they will need to pay attention to how much cholesterol they are eating from their diet. But other than those people, for majority of us, cholesterol, like we don't have to worry about how much cholesterol we are eating from our diet. And for this reason, the American Dietary Guideline Committee actually voted in 2015 to stop telling people that they need to eliminate the amount of cholesterol they eat from food, which include eggs. So they actually say that cholesterol is not a nutrient of concern for overconsumption. Like we don't have to worry about how many eggs we eat. With that said, research do say that the amount of saturated fat and trans fat that we eat has a bigger impact on the cholesterol in our blood. What does that mean? That means that what we eat along with the eggs actually play a more important role in determining our cholesterol level in the blood. So I know a lot of people like to eat eggs for breakfast. If you eat eggs with bacon and white bread, and you put a lot of butter on it, you may want to change that to something like this. Like eat your eggs with vegetables, for example, mushroom, tomato, avocado, spinach. And instead of eating a white bread, maybe try doing a whole grain bread and don't put any butter on it. So in that way, you are decreasing the amount of saturated fat and trans fat that you are eating, which may be better in help you manage your cholesterol level in the blood. Does that make sense? Okay, yes?
Could you put olive oil on your whole wheat toast?
Yes. So the question is if you can put olive oil on your toast. The answer is yes, because olive oil is a good source for the unsaturated fat, which can help you control your cholesterol level too. Better than butter? Yes. Any questions? Yes.
Could you say anything about the organic butter versus processed margarine?
So the question is the difference between organic butter and processed butter, processed margarine.
Which they call butter.
Yeah.
They put it out in all the restaurants, you know.
Yeah, that's actually a very good question.
Butter instead of margarine.
Yeah, I would say that because they are still butter, likely they will have a high saturated fat content in it too, so I will try to decrease the consumption of that. But one way you can tell is look at the nutrition label and try to pick one that has the lowest if that is really something that you want to eat, if that makes sense to you.
There are no bad side effects if your body eats processed margarine.
Processed margarine? I actually don't know about that one. Yeah. And
Vegetable oil.
Yeah, but they are in the form of a solid, I imagine, right? Yeah, I would say that is probably saturated fat. Yeah, so it's also trans fat. And another thing I want to mention that something labeled as organic is not necessarily healthier. So make sure when you buy something, check the nutrition label. Something that is organic can be high in sugar or sodium, which can also be bad. So don't let the word organic trick you. Yeah. Okay. Any other question about this? Okay. So besides cholesterol, what else does egg give you? So egg actually give you 6 grams of protein, and nutritionists like to describe them as high quality protein because they provide all the essential amino acid. What does that mean? That means that it's amino acid that our body needs to do all the body functions, but our body cannot make it. So the only way we can get them is from our food. And egg is one of those food items that can give us those essential amino acids. And research studies have shown that protein from eggs, from whole eggs, along with exercise, may slow muscle loss in older adults. For people who do a lot of resistance training, intact protein from whole eggs is actually more effective in making more muscle protein compared to individual amino acid that you get from supplement. And there are also some research data suggesting that protein from whole egg can help promote satiety and facilitate the weight loss if they are included as part of the weight loss diet that will create caloric deficit. If you don't understand what that means, hold on, I will come back to explain what that means later. So for people who are concerned about age-related muscle loss, or people who want to build more muscle or just want to lose some weight, it can be your very good friend. Eggs also provide a lot of essential vitamins and minerals, and for today, I want to highlight 2 of them. The first one is vitamin D. So anyone know why we need vitamin D? Nobody knows? Bone health, yes, good. So maintaining, I will come back to explain this, but basically, vitamin D helps the body to absorb calcium, and both of them together will help you build stronger bones. So maintaining a normal vitamin D status is kind of difficult for some people because it depends on several different factors. For example, your skin color, how much time you spend outside and get exposed to sunlight, or even where you are. Are you like in upstate New York, like where I'm originally from, or you are in North Carolina, or better yet, you're in Miami, Florida, or Phoenix, Arizona. Like, because a geographical location can affect how much sunlight you actually get. And for people who are concerned about like they don't get enough vitamin D from the sun, or they didn't spend enough time outside, they can get vitamin D from their diet. And egg is one of the few foods that are naturally containing vitamin D. So for those of you that are concerned about vitamin D deficiency, maybe eating eggs can help you meet that vitamin D requirement. And the last one, just like somebody mentioned, egg is also a major source for choline. Choline is important because it performs different functions that are important to us, in particularly the brain and cognition. Whether we are talking about a baby's brain and their memory or their learning ability, or as we get older, we start to be nervous about age-related cognitive decline. Choline plays a very important role during that process. And in fact, over 90% of the Americans do not meet their dietary choline requirement. And this is particularly important for people who have genetic polymorphism in choline metabolism. What does that mean? So think about your DNA as a very long sentence with many different letters. Somewhere in that sentence, I may have a spelling like A here. Somewhere, for you, it may be a G. For another person, it may be a T. So that different spelling in the choline metabolism genes can affect how well our body, how efficient our body can metabolize or process or use choline. So this different spelling is actually very common in the populations. Over 40% of the population have some sort of spelling that are different that will change how well they can, their body can metabolize choline. And for these people, they may need to eat more choline. They have a higher choline requirement. And for them, eating eggs will help them meet that higher choline requirement. And last but not least, is that what you mean? Yes, yes. So I actually do not know how to read that word either. I finished lieutenant. But so egg is also very abundant in lutein, which is good for your brain, but it's also good for the eyes. So some people like to call it the eyes vitamin. So what it does, there are research data showing that it can reduce the risk of developing different eye disease that will cause vision change or vision loss. And of course, there is also some evidence showing that it can improve the brain function in older people. Okay. So the bottom line is that if you are simply eliminating egg consumption, or if you stop eating eggs simply because you want to control your cholesterol level in the blood, I can tell you that that is no longer a scientifically supported practice. And in fact, for some people, for example, pregnant women or people who have genetic polymorphisms in some nutrients that are very abundant in eggs, if those people stop eating eggs, they may run the problems of nutritional deficiency that can cause problems later on too. So any questions over? Yes?
So you can eat an egg every day?
Yes, and egg every day is okay.
Thank you.
But make sure don't eat it with bacon. Not every day, at least.
Turkey
Yeah.
bacon or regular bacon?
They both are high in saturated fat, so not every. Occasionally is good, not every day. Yes. Yes.
Do you know why
Oh.
eggs got such a bad reputation?
Do I know why eggs got such a bad reputation?
Why does the egg have, why did it have, in the past tense, you shared with us that that's not the case anymore.
Yes.
Why did it have such a bad reputation?
Why do people in the past think that eggs are bad? So it's actually because of the cholesterol. I think that is the main reason behind that. But also in the past, not many people recognize what else egg will give you. Like in the past, nobody knew about choline, so they don't know that eggs is rich in choline. Or vitamin D, nobody really understands what vitamin D does. So I think there is a combination of things. But people are in the past very nervous about eating eggs is mainly because of cholesterol.
So was there a lot of bad research? I mean, why did people think that it contained too much cholesterol? Was there research?
Yeah, so the question is that because of all the bad research? I would not call them bad research, really. I would say that, how do I say? It's just people never really know how to study it. And as time goes on, we have different technology improvement that will help us better understand it. Like in the past, when I was still in undergrad, ages ago, it's not that long, but nobody taught about personalized nutrition. We all think that like one size fit all type nutritional recommendation, but now I'm here to do precision nutrition that we may be different depending on our genes and other stuff. So I think that I won't call the research in the past is bad, it's just we are improving based on what we have learned in the past. Does that address your question? So don't mean that if you hear something that is different from yesterday, don't just automatically say that research is bad. No, it's absolutely not. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Okay. What else did people put here? How about this one? to stay healthy and live longer, how many of you think that you should drink 3 glasses of milk a day? Raise your hand. Sorry. I know George did. Anyone else? No? Okay, I guess. How many of you think that you guys should not eat any dairy or drink any milk at all? Absolutely none.
Well, I'm lactose intolerant.
You are okay, so that's a different story. Yep. Yes, absolutely. But you are not avoiding any dairy. That doesn't have.
Lactose-free yogurt as well.
Yes, but you are different because you have a medical condition that you have to control for that. That's a different thing. I'm just wondering if people simply think that, oh, milk is going to kill me, so I'm not going to drink milk. Anyone like that in the world?
I've heard a lot of my friends say they don't do dairy or milk because it interferes with their weight loss.
This one is interesting. Okay, I will come back to that point. So this person's comment is people try to avoid milk because it will affect their weight loss. I will come back to this point at the end. I do have a myth for that one. Anyone else why they think milk is bad or milk is good?
I don't think it's bad or good, but I also have read that chocolate milk after a workout is a good recovery.
Okay, chocolate milk. Do you know how much sugar is in that?
Yes, but that is what they say.
Yeah, okay. After a good workout, yes.
I've heard with children that it can block their iron absorption and create anemia.
Oh, this one is new to me. Calcium block iron? Do you think so?
You just don't, but basically you avoid that, just not eating iron with the milk.
Okay. Yeah, so my friend Kaylee here, she's actually studying iron, so she knows more than I do. But she said that as long as you avoid eating both together, you'll be fine. So, but children do need milk, and I will explain why. Actually, let's go. Anyone want to comment on this? Yes.
The other thing is, back in the dark ages when I was in school, we were told that after you became an adult, you can't digest milk anyway.
So you're talking about people getting older, they may lose the ability to digest lactose and become lactose intolerant. Actually, I don't think that's the case. If you keep drinking.
I said it back in.
Okay, yeah, but I don't think that is true. Yeah, as long as you can still drink some milk, you have some sort of lactose food in your diet, it will be fine. Yes, Suzanne?
Well, I was just going to comment that for people who do, I think some people don't eat dairy because of the saturated fat problem too.
Yes, yeah. That kind of go back to the chocolate milk story, but I'll come back to that. So I would say that for majority of people, they drink milk because they want to have a better bones, like good bones and good teeth. Again, this is not wrong. Milk is a concentrated source of calcium. So 1 cup of milk can give you like calcium that is good for you to meet 30% of your daily calcium requirement. And in America, most of the milk are pretty much fortified with vitamin D. So, and 1 cup of milk can help you meet 25% of the vitamin D requirement. So again, vitamin D can help the body absorb calcium, and the two together will be good for your bones because they help bone mineralization, so it can keep the bone strong. But milk also gives you other nutrients like magnesium, vitamin K, potassium, and protein. All those are also important in maintaining good bone health and dental health. So everything is good. You drink your milk thinking that you'll get good bones. But suddenly one day you see this headline on the internet that say that 3 servings of milk a day link to higher mortality in women, specifically because of hip fracture, like you fall and then you break your bones and then things like that. They draw this conclusion based on one single research study here. So this one is actually new to me that I don't know, and I actually go and look it up and read the whole research paper. So what does this research actually say? So we will take a closer look at it. So first of all, this study is done in Sweden. which is in far northern part of Europe. So one thing that I have been mentioning is vitamin D is very important for bone health. You can get vitamin D from the sun, going outside and get some sun exposure. You can get it from your diet. So the immediate question is that how much sunlight do these people in Sweden get? I've never been to Sweden, so I don't know the answer to that. The researcher in that paper did not address that question. A related question is, does the milk in Sweden also fortify with vitamin D, just like the milk supply we have here in America? Again, the researcher did not say anything about that. Those people in Sweden have different genetic polymorphisms that will cause them to metabolize vitamin D differently or not as efficient, and so that increase their vitamin D requirement. We do not know about that. Why are these people drinking so many milk? We don't know about that either. Are they already at risk for something with that? Are they already at risk for like weaker bone or osteoporosis? We do not know anything about that. So there is still a lot of questions unknown from this study. And I think the important part is that they only see the effect in a very small group of people that drink 3 or more glasses of milk each day. They did not find any effect in people who drink 1 glass of milk or 2 glasses of milk a day. No harmful effect at all. And that study only looked at adults who are 40 years old or above. They did not look at children or adolescents. And so we cannot say if the same thing will apply to the children or adolescents. We don't know anything about that. And for children who are still growing, milk is still a good source for them to get calcium to build stronger bones. So that kind of answers your question. As long as you don't drink your milk with iron and things, that will be okay. So the bottom line is that, in my opinion, I don't think there is strong enough evidence to say that we need to stop drinking milk today. I don't think there is any evidence suggesting that.
Are you talking about skim milk or whole milk?
Yeah, so
Or somewhere in between?
Yeah, so skim milk, whole milk, those, that kind of go back to Suzanne's question, like people try to avoid milk because of the saturated fat content. So if you need to control your saturated fat intake, you don't have to drink whole milk. You can use a reduced milk, 2% milk, or skim milk. The nutritional content is the same. The only difference is the amount of fat in the milk. So yeah,
Do you drink milk?
What was that? I'm sorry?
Do you drink milk?
Do I drink milk? I do.
You do?
Every day, 2 glasses.
Glass?
2 glasses. I'm very honest. I do drink 2 glasses. Once for breakfast, one before I go to bed. Yes, I do drink milk. Yes.
I've always been told that, like, your whole milk versus your skim milk.
Okay.
Not really told, but one of my big questions would be the processing of the whole milk to get it to become skim milk. Does that not damage some of the nutrients and stuff that the whole milk has? Because my understanding is true skim milk is blue. It is not white.
Huh.
Now that could be a real big myth, but
I
But I
actually,
mean, that's one of my problems with taking a whole food product of any kind, and then when you change it to become or take stuff out of a food,
yes.
that you could be damaging or ruining or adding somehow other stuff to the food to make it not what it should be, what it was created.
That's also the idea about raw milk versus homogenized.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Right.
That's actually very good question. If you take a whole milk and then remove the fat, does that damage other nutrition, like nutrients found in the milk? I actually don't know. George, you want to say anything?
The way that they use to separate the fat from the milk is tremendously easy. It is not damaging anything.
They spin it.
They spin it. straightforward that way. So
Okay.
it's pretty easy to do.
Okay.
What the other person was talking about is that there's a big change in what we call the mouthfeel of milk.
Yes, with the fat.
Homogenization really changes the mouthfeel of milk. So if you really want honest, solidly, massively better tasting milk, get it pasteurized, but don't get it homogenized. Or get the skim milk, but they still don't homogenize it. You will change the milk taste.
Okay. Oh, this is so long that I don't know how to repeat it. So basically, for record, George is saying that we don't really have to worry about taking a whole milk and then reduce it to skim milk. It doesn't damage. I got it. It doesn't damage the nutritional profile in it because it's just spinning it to remove the milk. But then
Homogenization changes the flavor of milk dramatically.
homogenization changed the milk's flavor dramatically. Okay, that's from George. Let's go back. Yes.
One thing to notice though about your low-fat and no-fat products is what, and you were alluding to this, is what gets put in it to either make it more palatable or tasty or whatever. And a lot of times your low-fat and no-fat products will have added sodium or added sugar.
Yes.
So those are things to watch for. So you
Yes.
decide whether to get the whole-fat version or the low-fat or the
Yes. I agree with this person. So what this person is saying is when you choose between a whole fat food version versus a low fat food version, make sure you check the nutritional label too. Like it doesn't have, so if you are decreasing the fat, it doesn't increase like things like sodium or sugar, because that is often the case for some food product. That's often the case of what happened. So when you buy something, make sure you check out the nutritional label and go for the one that are low sodium, low added sugar, and lower fat. Does that make sense? Yep. And I think someone has a question. Yes.
Since this is addressing this, I'll just add, you hear all kind of strange things along the way. I heard that there's a connection between milk, a positive connection between milk and prostate cancer. Have you ever?
Milk,
that,
like drinking more.
Men who drink, I guess, an overabundance of milk, they have a higher, there's a higher incidence of
And it's
prostate
like
cancer.
whole cow's milk.
Yes.
Um,
You never heard, well, if you never heard it, it must
well, there are a lot of things I never heard. I learned something from you guys.
Saturated fat problem.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah, so it's a saturated fat problem. So again, if you control your saturated fat intake, you will lower your risk. But, and again, one thing that I really want to highlight for this talk is you don't just eat one single food. You're eating a whole diet. So if you decrease your milk, but then at the same time you eat a lot of high saturated fat, if you eat like 10 bacons every meal, you're still getting a lot of saturated fat. That will not help you lower your chance of getting cancer. So does that make sense? That's hopefully one of the message that I will send home with you guys is there is no one single food item that is the evil food, or no one single item that is the magical food. Hopefully that.
like bacon with your milk, that's the problem.
Yes. Don't go there. Yeah. So yeah, people are concerned about building stronger bones, and the way to do it is actually have a well-balanced diet with active, healthy lifestyle. So drinking milk is only one component of this equation. There are several things you can do to increase the amount of calcium you eat, or there are other food options if you are really concerned about milk. There are other food options, like for people who are lactose intolerant, you can get calcium from other sources. For example, cheese and yogurt will be a good one. Dark leafy green vegetables such as broccoli and kale are also good dietary source of calcium. I do want to highlight about spinach. If you go to the USDA website to look up the nutritional profile of spinach, yes, spinach does have a lot of calcium, but at the same time, it also have a lot of this compound called oxalate. So what this does is it actually prevents your body from effectively absorbing the calcium. So yes, you're eating a lot of calcium from spinach, but your body is not able to use it. Does that make sense? So with that, that doesn't mean that I'm telling you to stop eating spinach. No, you can still eat spinach. Spinach is still rich in other nutrients, but you cannot eat calcium to get enough. You cannot eat spinach to get enough calcium. It's just not a good dietary source for that. Other things you can eat for calcium is to eat some fish with the soft bones. Make sure you do eat the bones. Tofu will be another good one, or fortified orange juice, fortified soy milk are also good dietary source of calcium. Another nutrients you will need for building stronger bones is vitamin D. So you can get vitamin D from eating oily fish, like for example salmon. Or again, eggs. Make sure you eat the egg yolks to get vitamin D. If you just eat egg white, you are not going to get vitamin D. Fortified cereal, fortified orange juice will also be a good source for vitamin D. And you can also go outside to get some sun exposure. The recommendation that the doctor usually give to people is about 10 to 15 minutes a day will be sufficient for you to get vitamin D along with a diet that have vitamin D rich food. Okay, so those two together will go under the balanced diet category. How about healthy lifestyle? There are certain things, certain risk factors that you can avoid to get a better, stronger bones. If you drink a lot of alcohol, don't do that. Don't drink too much alcohol. Don't eat food that are very high in sodium or high in salt, for example, processed food. Because there are some research data suggesting that those will decrease the amount of calcium in your body and will cause bone loss. And the last piece that people always forget is exercise. Exercise not only will help you get a stronger bones, but it will also help you get stronger muscle and improve your balance so you don't fall easily. Because if you fall easily, you will have problem with your bones, and then that can trigger a bunch of other problems. So if you are spending a lot of time sitting during the day, you have a very sedentary lifestyle, it may be a good idea to get up and start walking around and do a little jogging each day. If you take elevator, consider using the stair. I know some people, including my family, some of my family members, they absolutely have to park their car right next to the entrance of the building. If there are no open spots, they will keep driving around until there is one. For people, if any of you are like that, maybe park your car in the back of the parking lot. Get off the car and start walking to the building. Every step like that will help you build a stronger bones. Okay? So now I'm going to the last myth that I will talk about. What about instead of one single food that makes you bad? It is the time when you eat the food that is bad for you. For example, after tonight's talk, you go home and don't eat. Do not eat after 7 p.m. Do not eat after 8 p.m. Do not eat after 9 p.m. Or some people will tell you restrict the morning eating and just eat between 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Because if you eat outside of that time schedule, you are going to gain weight. Is that true? How many of you actually hear something along that line? Okay, cool. So let's ask this very simple question. What makes you gain weight? I'm sorry? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So body weight is largely influenced by, it's a relationship between the amount of calorie you take in from your food and your fluid and the amount of calorie that you expend in the day. It can be the calorie that you use to do exercise in the gym, or the calorie that you spend out when you do household stuff like vacuum or washing car, or I don't know. It can also be things, the calorie that you use to carry out basic body functions. Like I'm standing here talking to you, I'm using calorie. You are sitting here, but you're also breathing. Your blood is circulating around your body. That also uses calorie. If you eat, your body is digesting the food and absorbing the nutrients. That also use calorie. So it's a relationship between what goes in your body and what gets out of your body. So if you eat the amount of calorie roughly similar to the amount of calorie you expend, you are in what we call a calorie neutral state. So your weight will stay the same. If you eat more calorie than you expend, you have extra calorie left in your body. That is what we call a calorie surplus state, and you will gain weight. And on the flip side, if you eat less than what you expend, you are in a calorie deficit state, which is a term that I mentioned earlier. And because of this calorie deficit, you will lose weight. So what, at the end of the day, is what you eat and how much you eat, along with how much you do, how much calorie you use, that determine your body weight. It doesn't really matter when you eat it or when you do exercise. It doesn't matter on the time. However, research study do find that there is, like, people who eat late at night do tend to put on more weight. Why is that? So there are several reasons for it. So people who eat late at night usually eat food that are very high in calorie but very low in nutrients. It can be because they don't have access to healthy food, so they have to eat like potato chips, soda, cookies, chocolate ice cream, things like that. They just have no other options. And people who eat this food usually in front of the TV or in front of the computer. So they can easily finish the entire bag of potato chips without recognizing how much they actually eat. This is what the dietitian would like to call the mindless eating. And for some people, they eat late at night not because they're hungry, they're just simply bored. So they decide to get up, go to the kitchen, open the fridge, and start looking for food and start eating. That's what we call emotional eating. So how can you deal with problems like this? If you feel hungry at night, ask yourself this question: am I truly hungry? Am I really hungry? If the answer is yes, go ahead and eat. Do not wait too long, because if you wait too long, you will end up eating a larger portions of food. So what should you be eating? You may want to consider eating food that are low in calorie, but paired with a lot of good nutrition. So I list a couple options here. So no chocolate ice cream. Maybe fresh food will be good. And also portion out your food into a smaller bowl or a smaller bag so you don't easily overdo it. And when you eat, turn off the TV, turn off the computer, and focus on your food so you know how much you have put in your mouth and eat. Okay? And after you eat, do not just sit there. Go for a walk so you can expand that calorie, so you can use that calorie. And for some people, getting enough sleep will help, because if you don't get enough sleep, your body will have a different way, like it will affect your body metabolism and your hormone signaling. That will change how you regulate your hunger or your appetite. So you will not want to eat during the day, but you will eat a lot at night. So getting enough sleep is also very important. So the bottom line is that calorie is calorie. It does not count more at night. Okay, it's still the same thing. But how about eating only between 11 a.m. to 7 p.m.? So this myth is also new to me, and I was actually talking about this with my friend who are actually a practicing dietitian in Valentine. And she and I decided to do a quick Google search, and this is what we found. It looks like, oh my gosh, it works for everyone, whether you're a famous celebrity or some unknown person in the world, whether you're a man or woman. It just works for everyone. And in fact, this type of eating pattern called intermittent fasting is actually the #1 most searched diet in 2019. So what is intermittent fasting? Okay. So intermittent fasting is an umbrella term that describes different dietary patterns that cycle between fasting, and eating. There are many different forms for intermittent fasting. The most common one is called the 16-8 method. So what that is, for people who do this type of intermittent fasting, they will go on fasting for 16 hours a day. They do not eat anything. Some people will only drink water. Some people will drink water, tea, or coffee, but absolutely no food at all. And then after that 16 hours is over, in the next 8 hours, they can eat whatever they want, no, in any amount. So that 8 hours period doesn't seem to matter. It seems to be based on what is convenient for people's schedule. So most people will do 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., but there are also some people that do 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. or noon to 8 p.m. So what this dietary pattern or what this dietary practice is basically, it doesn't matter what you eat. It doesn't tell you what you should be eating, what you should avoid. It just focuses on when you should be eating that. So what does the science say about intermittent fasting? It turns out that many of the research study looking at the 16-8 intermittent fasting method is actually done in animals. Only a handful of the study are done in human. And for those human study, they are very small scale, meaning that they only include very few number of people. So I think the one that I read with the most number of people is only 29 people out of 29 people. And they are very short-term study, meaning that they only study the effect of intermittent fasting in these people for a short period of time. The longest duration of the study that I read is only 3 weeks. So for those studies, what do they find? What do the researchers find? So they find several things. One thing is that they do lose weight. These people who practice intermittent fasting do lose weight without changing their basal body metabolism. However, the amount of weight they lose from intermittent fasting is about the same as the amount of weight they lose if they are on a weight loss diet that will create a caloric deficit. Again, that's the key, creating caloric deficit. So now the immediate question becomes, is the weight loss effect due to fasting itself? Or is that just simply because now you have less time to eat and you're unintentionally decreasing the amount of calorie you eat? I don't think those research studies look into that, and I don't have an answer for you, unfortunately, on that.
There's something about spiking the blood sugar, though.
I will come back to that point. I do. Actually, that's in the next slide. Bear with me for 2 minutes. However, one thing that researchers do agree on is several things. It's mostly about the undesirable side effect, and is that right for people, including people who may have problem with their sugar regulations, blood sugar regulations. So people who do intermittent fastings do report that they are constantly hungry. And by the end of the fasting period, they usually go for a larger portions of food. And they really have to tell themselves that, okay, this is enough. I have to stop. I cannot eat anymore. If they fail to do it, they will see themselves gaining weight. And in reality, a lot of people who do intermittent fasting actually develop eating disorder from this. So this is not a good idea to try. And there are also people saying that it is very difficult to keep doing intermittent fasting for a long-term basis. It's just not feasible to fast for 16 hours every day. And that goes to the comment that this person was making about people with blood sugar spikes. Actually, researchers and dietitians agree that it is not a safe thing to do for everyone. So people who have eating disorder already, do not try that. People who have diabetes, this is also not a good idea because the long period of fasting may actually cause hypoglycemia. And then you will have other problems with that. So that is not a good idea to try if you have diabetes. For people who are pregnant, for women who are pregnant or breastfeeding, or for children and adolescents who are growing, this is also not recommended because you may run the risk of nutritional deficiency that can affect health later. And finally, yes, there is weight loss in the short term, but is that sustainable in years later? Nobody actually knows. I don't think there are studies looking at the long-term effect of intermittent fasting. So what I will say about intermittent fasting is that there is just a lot of unanswered questions. There are no enough research data in human to say that whether it is good or bad, what is the long-term benefit, what is the long-term side effect, if there are any, and why it is beneficial. Is that just simply because something magical about fasting, or you're just not eating enough? You're creating that caloric deficit that causes the weight loss effect you see. But we do agree that it is not a good practice for anyone. Okay. Any questions about that? Yes.
I just have a comment. I know
Sure.
last month there was an article in the New England Journal of Medicine that came out about intermittent fasting.
Yes, I saw that
It
too.
does not talk about weight loss, but it does show significant health benefits for cardiovascular disease and also for prevention of diabetes.
Yes. Yeah, but that's only one study.
Correct.
For those people in that study, it may be different from any one of us in here. So I would not go out and do this because of one single study. We need more evidence on that. But yes, I did read that article and I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
Is this related to that keto diet we got here going on?
No, keto diet is actually, yeah, keto diet tell you to restrict certain food group. This one you can eat anything you want, at any amount you want. So you can fast for 16 hours and then eat 3,000 calories of food. Hamburger, McDonald's, that's totally fine. So that's completely different things, yeah. Any other questions? Okay, so these are the myths that I have prepared for tonight. Again, if I did not talk about the myth that you submit, I apologize. But I also include a list of resources here that is also on the handout. Yes, Susan is logging. Yeah, that is also on your handout. So you can go to those websites to look for an answer to your myth. I know there is a question about, there are several people asking about carbohydrates. So all this here, the ADA actually have resources about that. The keto diet or different weight loss diets, again, these two websites have those. I know someone asked about a mayonnaise myth. That's also in the food safety website. Someone asked about some sort of supplement. The NIH Office of Dietary Supplement website have those as well. And I also want to highlight this two websites here. So the NutriBite blog is a nutritional blog that is run by a group of graduate students in the Department of Nutrition in Chapel Hill. And I know Kaylee, my friend here, is one of the co-founder of that. So if you have any question, you can talk to her afterward or check out that website. And then this examine.com is actually started by a couple of my colleagues who are very interested in sport nutrition. So they are trying to figure out how to improve their exercise performance, or if there is anything they should eat to help them build more muscle. And they are absolutely tired of the supplement company to tell them to spend like thousands of dollars buying different things. So they actually start this website asking different graduate students in different nutrition departments in American university and in Canadian university to actually do something that we call systematic review and meta-analysis. So what that is we go and look at all the scientific research articles, we take notes and stuff, and then analyze what the science actually say. Because the supplement company oftentimes want to sell you stuff, so they will only tell you the positive thing without telling you any negative things. So what we do for this website is we actually look at the research and present both good and the bad, or anything we don't know, we just say we don't know. So at the end of that website is a bunch of research articles, a link to those research articles that you can actually click in and read it. So my friend helped with that a couple years ago. I also helped do something with them for this. So if you're very interested in the science behind it, that will be the website to go for. But again, I want to bring you guys, bring your attention to this, that none of these resources or anything that I taught tonight should replace anything your doctor tells you. A lot of people tell me and my friend who are practicing that they don't like talking to their doctor. They're afraid of talking to them. They just don't know where to start. Talking to their doctor somehow makes them feel stupid. Maybe I will suggest you to use the resources that I have provided to you tonight, read through them, Use what you learn from them and help you start that conversation with your doctor if you have a specific health questions. I'm sure they will be happy to hear your concern and happy to help you with that. And to end tonight's talk, I want to leave you this final message. So in my opinion, I will say that food plays a very important role in our culture, in our daily life, in our social life. For majority of us, unless the doctors tell us something different because we have some sort of health problems, I think for most of us, we don't have to overthink too much about what we eat, what we should not eat. For majority of us, we can continue to enjoy the food that we eat on a daily basis. The key is to include a well-balanced diet that include many different variety of healthy food. We're talking about fruit and vegetables, we're talking about lean protein, talking about whole grain, things like that. The key is to include many of them in a variety manner and try to decrease the amount of food that may not be so healthy for us. Things like food that are high in saturated fat. Maybe we're decreasing them will be good. I'm telling you to decrease them, not completely eliminating them. You do not want to do that either. And another thing that is important that people often forget is the active, healthy lifestyle. Again, if you are sitting too much, get up and walk around, walk with your dog. Or if you have grandchild, spend some time playing with them, doing some fun outdoor activity with them. That will help you create a healthy life, and that can help you lower your chance of getting different diseases that we always hear about nowadays, like heart disease, obesity, diabetes. I think everyone in this room, the fun, and Dr. Smith, every one of us who do research will agree that there is no one single food, one single nutrient that will cause you to have all those problems. It's a combination of different things. So biology is way more complicated than one thing causes that. It doesn't work that way. So with that, that's what I have tonight. I'm happy to take any questions if there are any.